Hello everyone, especially to you ma'am, and in this video, we will dive into a new chapter which is Constructivist Learning Theory. Our first lesson covers with Jerome's Bruner's Constructivist Theory, Gestalt Theory, and David Ausubel's Subsumption Theory. We'll begin with a look at Jerome's Bruner's work, so let's get started. Coming from the work of Piaget and Vygotsky, they are considered key figures in the development of constructivist learning theory. While they had different perspectives, their work laid the foundation for understanding how learners actively construct knowledge. So if you still remember, we already discussed about Piaget and Vygotsky. So Piaget focused on how children's cognitive development unfold through stages, while Vygotsky emphasized the role of social interaction and cultural tools in learning. Both Piaget and Vygotsky contributed significantly to the development of constructivist learning theory. So the question is, what is constructivism? Constructivism is a way of learning where you build your own understanding based on your experiences. So the keyword here is experiences. And another thing is that you learn by doing. So it means you don't just read about things, but you try them out and see how they work. You also connect new ideas to what you already know. So when you learn something new, you link it to your previous experiences. So it means you also make connections and you keep changing your understanding. As you get more experiences, your understanding grows and also changes. So, constructivism is about being an active learner, not just a passive receiver of information. You create your own knowledge through exploration, questioning, reflection, and also experience and interaction. Let me give you an example of this kind of constructivism. For example, a small child who touches the flame of a candle soon realizes it is hot and that touching it hurts. From that experiences, the child learns that the flame is hot and can burn the skin. Now, the child has this kind of realization that he or she will no longer attempt to touch a lit candle again. Why? Because of these concepts are derived from the child's personal experiences. So let's proceed to Bruner's constructivist theory. Bruner's theory is all about how we learn by actively building our own understanding. So these are the terms. First, active learning. You're not just a sponge who's soaking up information, but you're actively involved in the process of making sense of things. And next to that is creating new ideas. You don't just memorize facts, you use what you already know to make new connections and come up with your own thoughts. And also, using past knowledge. You build on what you already know, connecting new information to existing knowledge. And after that, you transform information. No, you don't just accept information as it is, but you can select and change it to fit your own understanding and add your own interpretation. So, when learners are properly guided, they go beyond. In what way, no? Because they don't just stick to what you're told, but you use your knowledge to come up with new ideas and solutions. For example, a child is learning to cook, and he might watch their parent to cook and then try to make a simple dish on their own. Now, they might use their knowledge of ingredients and cooking techniques to adapt the recipe and create their own version. So, this process of experimentation and creativity helps them learn and develop their skills. He also emphasized that categorization in learning. So, what is categorization? Categorization involves perception, conceptualization, learning, decision-making, and also conclusion. So, when we say perception, it's how we take an information from the world around us using our senses. Think of it like a camera taking pictures of what's happening. In terms of conceptualization, turning those pictures into ideas and understanding. It's like putting the pieces of a puzzle together to make a picture. And in terms of learning, it's the process of gaining new information or knowledge and even skills, no? It's like building a toolbox full of tools to help us understand and do things. In terms of decision making, it's something like choosing between different options based on what we've learned. It's like picking the right tool for the job. And lastly, for the conclusion, it's forming opinions or judgment based on what we've learned and experienced. It's like drawing a picture based on the puzzle pieces we put together. So let me give you an example or a scenario. A child is learning about sunflowers, and that child already know about roses and daisies. So in terms of perception, the child sees a sunflower for the first time. Their brains start categorizing it based on its features, like it's tall, it has a large yellow flower head, and it has thick and sturdy stems. In conceptualization, the child starts to form a concept of sunflower by grouping together the features they observe, no? They might also compare it to the roses and daisies about its similarities and also differences. In terms for learning, the child learns more about sunflowers, discovering that they come in different sizes and also types of petals, that it grows in a different environment. So it expands their understanding about sunflowers. In terms of decision making, the child might decide to draw a sunflower based on their newfound knowledge and understanding of sunflowers. So they might choose to use a specific colors and mga details based on their own observation. In terms of for conclusion or inferences, it is based on their category of sunflowers. The child might infer that sunflowers need a lot of sunlight to grow, and they are a type of flower that attracts bees and also mga insects. Another thing is through learning opportunities and activities. So we learn by doing things and engaging with the world. This could be reading a book, trying out a new skill, or working on a project. So it's trying to say that Bruner encourages teachers to allow students to discovering concepts by themselves. Let students explore and find out the things on their own. Another thing is students should never fear committing mistakes, because why? Mistakes are part of learning. They help us figure out what works and what doesn't. It's like learning to ride a bike and falling down a few times before you get it right. So, what do you mean by construction? Construction of new ideas or concepts, it's learning about a building new understanding and also a knowledge. It's like adding new pieces to a puzzle to make a complete picture. So that's the construction. Now let's proceed to the 4 key aspects that Bruner believed were essential for a successful learning. Number 1 to that is the predisposition toward learning. It's the love of learning. Kids are more likely to learn when they want to learn. It's like something about sparking their curiosity and making learning fun. For example, a parent might take their child to a science museum or a zoo, where they can explore and learn about different animals and scientific concepts in a fun and interactive way. And number 2 is the structuring knowledge. It's making sense of the information. So learning is easier when information is organized in a way that it makes sense to the learner. So it starts with a simple ideas and builds more toward a complex one. For example, a teacher might teach about a different types of plants, like by starting with a basic like mga roots, stems, and also mga leaves, and then moving on to a more complex ideas like about mga photosynthesis and mga plant reproduction. And number 3 to that is the sequencing material, learning in steps. Like there is a kanang learning should be happen in a logical order, like building on what's already been learned. And like a building tower, you need a strong foundation first. For example, a teacher might teach basic math skills before introducing more a kanang complex concepts like fractions or algebra. And lastly, the rewards and punishment. It's the motivation and the understanding. So rewards and punishment should be used carefully and consistently. Kids should understand why they are being rewarded or why are they being kanang punished. For example, a teacher might give a student a sticker or a small prize for completing their work on time, explaining that they are being rewarded for their effort and good behavior. So, the teacher uses a constructive feedback. If a child makes a mistake, the teachers help them understand why it's incorrect and guides them towards the correct answer. And now, let's proceed to the last part of Jerome Bruner's constructivist theory, which is the Bruner's principle of a instruction. So number one to that is the readiness. So before you teach anything, make sure students are ready and motivated to learn it. So they need the right background of the knowledge and skills to understand what you're teaching. Best example would be a motivating students, no? You might start a lesson, for example, in a solar system with a captivating video about space exploration, no? To spark their curiosity and make them eager to learn more. So number two is the spiral organization. Don't teach everything at once, no? You should introduce concepts in a spiral manner, like revisiting them and adding more complexity as students progress. For example, a teacher not teaching about animals, so you might start with a simple classifications like mammals, birds, and reptiles in an early grade. So later, you'd revisit the topic, no, adding details about specific animal groups like their habitats and their adaptations. And number three is going beyond the information given. So, don't just give students facts, but encourage them to use their knowledge, no, to solve problems, make connections, and also think critically. For example, teaching about something complex like American Revolution. Instead of just memorizing the dates and battles, you might ask your students to analyze these mga primary sources or to have debate with different perspective about the war. Are the three Bruner's principle of a instruction.
Hello everyone, especially to you mom. So now, I'm going to discuss about Gestalt theory. So Gestalt came from a German term that means pattern or form. Gestalt psychology was introduced in 1912 by Max Wertheimer. The focus in this theory was on grouping. So I have here the illustration of the laws of grouping. So first, similarity. It is the elements that have the same or nearly similar features are grouped together. So objects that are similar to one another are grouped together. So, example. I have 5 plastic balls and 5 foam balls that have the same size. 5 plastic balls and 5 foam balls that have the same size. We can consider its similarity, it's just because they are both circles. So that's similarity. So next, proximity. Proximity, elements that are near to each other are grouped together. So objects close to one another are grouped together. So I have another example here of proximity. As you can see, this is the triangle and a circle. So when you use your sensor and find the pattern, you can see it that the circle here looks like pattern. If you're gonna use your sensor, ibang gamitin ng parang imo siyang pattern, imo siyang lantawan. Kani start here, gandere, kadalong dere, makita nimo ang diamond pattern. So kanis la dere nga part, nga kani nagdugol, they are grouped together because they are close to one another. So next, continuity. Continuity element, this is the elements that define smooth lines or even curves are also grouped together. So, because once our eyes begin to follow something, they will continue to travel in that direction until it encounters another item or object. So as you can see, I have another example here. Did you see this before? And this is the after. So this is before. As you can see, that putol-putol siya. Dili siya sumpay. Putol-putol siya. Dili siya sumpay. Looks. And this one, this is the example of one. Pag makita niyo siya, it looks like a wave, diba? Smooth line waves. To the up, down, and back up. So makita nimo nga putol-putol siya. Now, to maintain order, the brain will carry on any visual patterns. Also, continuation happens when there is when the viewer's eye move, whether smoothly or disjointly, through an object into another. So if imong gamiton ang imong kuan visual, makita nimo ang kuan visual patterns dara. That is the example of continuity. So next, we have closure. This is the elements that fill up missing parts to complete an entity are grouped together. So, seeing an image with missing parts and filling them into complete the image in your head. So, in Gestalt psychology, the law of closure is the action. The brain takes to fill in gaps in things it perceives. So, for example, if someone sees a circle with the gaps in the line, they still understand that the shape is circle because the brain feels in those gaps. For example, here, I have example. So, this one, as you can see, this is the shape, right, diba? Shape siya. So, gamito nimo imo ang kuan, panglantaw, imong liho ko ng imong mata, bosik imo siyang iporma, unsa may ma-form ani niya. Diba? Unsa may ma-form ani niya. So, mahimo siya kung i-fill nimo ni mga missing parts, imong gamiton ang imo ang panglantaw, imo ang ipanggugol, unsa may makita nimo. Diba? A ball. So, those are the laws of grouping: similarity, proximity, continuity, and closure. So, here, strategies a teacher uses will help the learners to discover if there are elements hindering them from learning new concepts. So, diri gaingon na teacher will use this to help the learners to discover new elements na kanang makakuan sila. So, example, if ang student kay dili kay siya kabaluani, hina siya dili nga part sa subject, hina siya diya ang subject. So, ang imong angay buhaton, ang imong strategies na buhaton ana is imo siyang i-tutor ni mga student hantod imong i-cater hantod sa kanang makabalo siya. Kay dili man jud tanan na kanang naman jud mga slow learner, dili kay makasabot. So, all you have to do is to cater that learners. Imo ang if ever kung mag-deliver ka sa speech in front of them, if mag-deliver ka, dapat imo siyang slow and clearly para makasabot jud kay sila. If dili man gali jud ingan makasabot, then imo jud siyang tudluan, i-cater jud kay nim siya banat, i-tutor ingana man gani, or di kaya magpag-groupings ka nga dili lang magpag-groupings dili lang kay friends to friends, but also katong mga bright, iipon nimo siya sa mga bright dito para pud ma-enhance iyang utok nga nakaipon ko mga brights, dapat kabalo ko nga tuduan ko nila ani nga na, so dapat makabalo pud ko para na ako'y parang pag naka-discover og mga new things, kaya dapat ang strategies nga gamiton sa teachers para maka-gain og kuan. So dapat tabangan niya kung asa to nagkalisod ang bata para maka-discover og mga new concept. So Gestalt theory looks into an individual way of problem solving. A person can solve a problem if he has a good understanding of overall or general structure of the problem. So, if ang person nagaproblema, na siya problema, pero kabalo siya, he has a good understanding how to solve that problem. So, iya ito na pangitaan pa maagi. So, palitan example. We have a financial problem, so you need to evaluate or have some critical mindset in how you are going to gain some money. So, you need to work hard so that the problem of your finances will be lessened and adapt to the situation where you can overcome financial crisis. So, if nakay problema din, kabalo ka musulbad, nakay good understanding din, hindi mo dyan na siyang masulbad. So, yan. So, Gestalt theory also looks in how people organize their learning by looking at their experiences both inside and outside of the classroom. So, example, teacher kay nagdiscuss siya about lang sa classroom. Walay labot sa real world situation or the outside of the classroom, nagkuan lang siya, nag-discuss lang siya sa sa classroom. So, ang bata ana, dili kay siya makasabot. It's because they don't see that or they don't have any experiences kung sa imong ipangtudlo. Kay mas nindot maguto if ever kung magtudlo ka, dapat sa gulang pili mo real world or outside world so that makarelate sila sa imong topic. Kay makaingon sila nga, kini kabalo ko ani, it's because na ako experience ani makarelate dito sa imong topic kung imo siyang sa kuan, kung ang imo ang topic kay relate sa ilang experiences mo na siya. So we have three major principles of Gestalt theory of learning. So 1, the learner should be encouraged to discover the underlying nature of a topic or a problem. So, example, imagine you have a student learning about the concept of gravity. Instead of simply stating that gravity pulls object towards the earth, a teacher could encourage discover by setting up a series of experience. For example, they could ask students to drop off different weights from the same height and observe how long it takes them to reach the ground. By comparing the result, students can deduce the gravity affects all objects equally, regardless of their weight. So, let's say them. So next, next principle, number 2, gaps incongruities, disturbance are an essential stimulus for learning. So example, so people that is eager to learn should not waste their time and make themselves distort into something. They have to do the process in pursuance of their procedure to achieve something that they want to learn. The 3 principle. Instruction should be based upon the laws of organization, similarity, proximity, continuity, and closure. Example, so if you're going to instruct your students, it should be inspired or based of the similarity, proximity, continuity, and closure for organized and solid motion for a certain activity. So that's all for the Gestalt theory. Thank you.
Hello everyone, especially to you ma'am. So I am going to discuss the David Ausubel subsumption theory. So according to David Ausubel, the most important factors in influencing learning is what learner already know. So this means that what someone already understand or has learned makes it easier to them to pick up new information. And if they have a strong base of knowledge, they can connect new ideas or information to what they already know. Let's talk about the subsumption theory. So, subsumption theory was developed by David Ausubel. And subsumption theory, it is emphasize meaningful learning integration. It is emphasize how individuals learn large amount of meaningful materials from both verbal or textual in presenting in a school settings. Subsumption theory can individuals' cognitive structure should be straightened. So before a new set of knowledge can be learned, so a person's cognitive structure should be straightened. And using advanced organizer is one way of straightening one's cognitive structures because it can enable the learner to see a general picture of a concept even before looking into its details and parts. An advanced organizer can enhance the cognitive structure and understanding, and it is the useful way of learning. And through this, it can help the learner to connect new information with their existing knowledge. Next, let's talk about the the four learning processes of subsumption theory. First, we have the derivative subsumption theory. So, it is a new concept learned in an example of a concept that you have already know before. So, this will happen when you learn something new, but it's basically just a reminder of something you already knew before. So, for example, you learn the alphabet in preschool and then later in elementary school. So you learn how to read and write words. So it's basically based on the same alphabet. So you already know, just applied in a more advanced way. So that is what we call the derivative subsumption. So the second one is the correlative subsumption. So this is a new concept learned, is an extension or modification of a previous learned information. So a new idea builds on or change something you already learned, or adding more details or a new perspective. So for example, you know how to ride bicycle and then you learn how to ride a motorcycle. So riding a motorcycle builds on the balance and coordination skills you use for riding a bike. So but it involves new concepts like controlling speed and handling a heavier vehicle. So that is what we call the correlative subsumption. So the third one is superordinate subsumption. So the superordinate subsumption is what was learned, or a specific example of a new concept. The new information is a specific example of a large idea you're learning about, and showing how smaller parts fit into a bigger picture. So for example, you learn about transportation's a general category, and then you learn about specific type of transportations like cars, buses, and bicycles. So these are specific example of the broader concept of transportations. So this is what we call the superordinate subsumption. And the last one is combinatorial subsumption. So this is a new concept is combined with a prior known concept to enrich both concepts. So this is a new idea is combined with something you already know, and making both ideas more useful and helping you understand them better together. So for example, you know how to play the piano and you also know how to read music. So later, you combine this result to play a new song by reading the music and playing the notes on the piano. So it is merging both concepts to enhance your musical abilities. So this is what we call the combinatorial subsumption. So this is the less parts of a learning processes of the subsumption theory.
And now, let's also tackle its teaching implication. So, Bruner's Constructivism, which I only presented 3 implications. So, first, facilitator. So, teacher acts as a guides, facilitator, and mentors. No, they provide opportunities for students to explore, experiment, and construct their own understanding. And number 2 is scaffolding, which Bruner coined this term, which teachers provide support and guidance as needed, and then they gradually withdrawing support as students gain confidence and independence. And lastly, the motivator. Teachers create a positive and engaging learning environment that encourages curiosity, exploration, and love of learning.
Here are teaching implications of Gestalt theory. First, organizer. Teacher present information in a way that promotes understanding of the whole pictures before focusing on individual parts. Second, pattern identifier. Teacher helps students identify pattern and relationship within the information, using techniques like grouping and highlighting key concepts. Third, experience connector. Teacher connect new information to students' prior experience and real-world application to make learning more meaningful. And that's all. Thank you.
So these are the teaching implication of David Ausubel's theory. So first, we have knowledge activator. So teacher use advanced organizer and other strategies to active students' prior knowledge. So and make connection to new information. And second is concept builder. So teacher present new concept building upon previous learned information, helping students integrate new knowledge into their existing cognitive structure. And third is the meaningful learner. So teacher encourage students to understand the why behind concepts and not just memorizing facts but promoting deep understanding and critical thinking.
So that's all for this report. Thank you for watching and listening. We hope this information has been helpful.